From the Evening Standard in London, I'm David Marsland, and this is The Leader.
Hey! This is subtle. Where's the Range Rover?
When James Corden picked up Prince Harry in an open-top bus for his Late Late Show, it apparently fulfilled a dream for the now former senior royal, who says he's always wanted, but never been allowed, to go on one.
Just pay the fare and hop on up, okay? You know us royals, we don't carry cash.
UK viewers can see the whole thing on the Late Late Show's YouTube channel, and it's not the only first you'll find in the episode. Not least, although recorded a couple of weeks ago, it's the first interview to be released since Harry and Meghan officially said they would not be rejoining the royal family. Lizzie Edmonds is covering the story for the Evening Standard and is with me now. Lizzie, this was filmed before that announcement, but it's pretty clear Harry's using the moment to get his side of the story out first.
Yes, I mean, the narrative that they've been having a lot of difficulty with the British press is not new, but it was, him saying that it was not a very good environment and it was toxic was the word that he used as well, which is quite strong language there. And yeah, he said he did what any husband or any father would do, and took his family out of what he said was a very negative situation, which I guess, when you take it from that perspective, is a relatively understandable position to take. But yeah, it once again didn't portray their previous situation from just over a year ago as the greatest. So that's quite an interesting and quite strongly worded response from Prince Harry.
Something I found really interesting about the whole interview was how it's very much trying to present Harry as one of us. He's a guy who watches The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He knows the lyrics to the theme song. He's a guy who will need a wee and needs to knock on somebody's door to go and have one. There's very much an element of pulling him away from the exclusivity of the royal family, isn't there?
Yes, I mean, the whole Prince Harry even going on James Corden, is a very different format to what you would normally see him in. I mean, you would never in a million years see senior members of the royal family doing that. The fact that he discussed very everyday and quite personal things about his life with Meghan and with their son Archie. Archie likes waffles, and that the Queen of all people ordered him a waffle making machine for his Christmas. I mean, this is stuff that that very much average Joes do, and it's normal. So that's clearly what they what Harry wants to present himself as. And I would suggest going on a show like the Late Late Show and being interviewed by James Corden, is all part and parcel of that. It's all about kind of this new era for the couple and how they want to come across to people.
And talking about the Queen there, we also learned that she knows how to use Zoom, and that Prince Philip, instead of hitting leave meeting, just slams his laptop down at the end when he doesn't want to speak to you anymore. It's little bits of insight into life in the royal family. But what is interesting, of course, is that this interview on James Corden has come out on the same day that the Queen has been talking about her vaccination and trying to get the country to take its vaccination for coronavirus. Do you think these things are going to conflict against each other? Because Harry's shoving her out the road on the front pages, isn't he?
Yes, I think there will inevitably be. I mean, there's been so many stories in the past year about this kind of relationship and the ongoing relationship and with Harry and Meghan and the royals over back in the UK, and whether what they're doing, Harry and Meghan, is upsetting the Queen or upsetting the institution or ruffling feathers. I can imagine that the Queen stepping up and encouraging people to be vaccinated, and kind of suggesting even that it was selfish that people weren't. You should think of others and not just yourself, was the general message from the Queen, which is quite outspoken for the Queen. And I think that's very much going to be knocked down the news agenda today, because everyone will be talking about Harry and Meghan and waffles, and I can imagine that that's going to be quite annoying for the royal family. And of course, this comes again a week before Harry and Meghan, or Meghan predominantly, but Harry and Meghan are due to sit down with Oprah Winfrey, just a matter of hours after the Queen does her Commonwealth address. Is it all just coincidence and poor timing? I don't know. There's been quite a few incidents of this. I think there might be it might be getting a bit harder to claim that it's all just circumstance and coincidence at the moment. But yeah, I can't imagine the Queen will be particularly pleased that her stepping up to speak about coronavirus in this manner has been somewhat overshadowed.
Yeah, whether the timing's intentional or not, it does demonstrate really early on how difficult it's going to be for Harry and Meghan to carve out their future outside of the royal family without causing problems, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. And I think it's never going to be a clean break. They're never going to be able to just be Harry and Meghan, because inevitably there will always be criticism of them, and inevitably there will always be instances like this when his something that he's done is overshadowed or potentially seen as overshadowing the Queen. And I wouldn't have thought Harry and Meghan are naive enough to think that it's going to be a clean break and it's going to be very easy just to kind of be completely apart. But we'll have to see how things continue going forward and how they manage that, and whether they do eventually get to this to a kind of way that it works. I mean, it's a new thing for everyone involved. There's going to be teething problems, and there's going to be things that they're going to have to work out along the way, just like us, when normal people like us have family disputes or, things changing in families. We've all got to work it out over time.
There's more on this story on standard.co.uk. Let's do the ads now. Hit subscribe to make sure you never miss our news, interviews, features and commentary. The roadmap's ready, but what's actually going to happen when lockdown is lifted in London? The Evening Standard has launched its recovery board, which sees industry leaders debating what the post-pandemic future of the city could be. What are the opportunities to build back better? It's met for the first time to look at how offices could change once we no longer have to work from home. Our city editor Jim Armitage is here. Jim, who's on the board?
Yeah, well, we decided to get a group of as wide a sort of selection as possible. So we got leaders from the arts, from business, as you say, and quite a few of them are philanthropists, people like Sir Lloyd Dorfman, who's a massive donor, very heavily involved in the National Theatre and the Bridge Theatre. Peter Bazalgette, who's the chairman of ITV, but also wears many other hats in terms of government and policy and charity and art. We've got the boss of the Hut Group, which is one of the biggest tech companies in the country. We've got the boss of Publicis, which is the biggest advertising agency group in London. And so it's a wide selection. We wanted to get a wide diversity of experience and ideas.
So we've obviously got this roadmap out of lockdown that's been released by the government. But do the people on our board here expect workers to give up working from home and head back into the city centre? Are we going to get over our fear of the commute, Jim?
That's a really good question, and it's the $1 trillion question at the moment. We learned from our board that by and large, employers want their staff to come back. Now, why do they want that? Primarily, it's because, particularly if you're working in creative fields, for example, Annette King, who's the boss of Publicis, is a good example there. So she's got hundreds and hundreds of workers who are dreaming up fantastic advertising campaigns, and you can't get the best ideas unless you've got your creative team sitting in a room and just sort of bouncing off each other. We've all been there where you get that sort of creative spark when you get your mates together in a room. But they don't think that people are going to come back full time. The consensus seems to be around 3 days a week. What we don't really want is for everybody to work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because then you get a massive crush on transport on Wednesday mornings in the rush hour. So maybe just making sure that people spread those out, and also the start times as well. If you can try and encourage people not to all start at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever the time is, so that we relieve that crush a bit. And these are the kinds of ideas that we were coming up with to how to safely get more people back into the office.
And when they walk back into that office, Jim, is that going to be the same environment? Are we going to be walking into exactly the same office that we left, in some cases like a year ago.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that, because the consensus seems to be absolutely not, and it can't be, because the way that we're going to be working is going to be very different. I think it's going to be far less of people sitting in rows of offices, 5 days a week, 9 hours a day, doing their sort of just doing their sort of grunt work on their own. That is the kind of work that will be getting done at home. The office will be far more about those meeting times that we talked about, where you have to get into a team and thrash out a problem or a sales pitch or whatever that might be. And also training as well. Training is one thing that is far, far better done in a room together. But what I thought was really fascinating was that the panel were all talking about how keen they are to make it far more fun coming back to the office. The office is where it's not just about work, it's about social life. 15% of us meet our spouses and girlfriends, boyfriends and partners at work. Part of it is within architecture. This has been a theme of architecture even before the epidemic, is to try and create bigger spaces so that you can have live music, perhaps in the foyer after, in the evenings, or outdoor spaces that are really nice to sort of hang out in after work. Peter Bazalgette had the great idea of having every office owner, people like British Land, for example, should think of themselves as being entertainers and not just landlords. So he was saying, why not have a head of entertainments in every building, whose job it is to put on the most exciting theatre and live music and food events every week in the office.
London, though, is an incredibly diverse city, so there's not going to be any kind of one-size-fits-all solution to this, and that's why the Standard's encouraging readers to get involved in this board, get their views known as well.
That's right. We're really keen on hearing from you. So what we're doing with this information is we are lobbying government, lobbying the mayor's office, lobbying business leaders to change their sort of strategies and consider the ideas that we're having. So the better the ideas, the more chance that this lobbying is going to have of working. And we really, really want to hear from Londoners about what they think we can do to bring back working in the city better and make our brilliant capital just as fantastic as it was before this terrible disease happened.
To read more about this and to get involved, go to standard.co.uk. And that's the leader for this week. We're back at 4 o'clock on Monday afternoon.